The curious thing about the jobs data is we've seen a terrible first quarter. We have a questionable second quarter, yet we've created 1 million jobs in the first 5 months of the year.
That's
right?
not bad.
So are we going to see kind of some backlash, kind of a rubber band effect?
Yeah.
You know, there are some structural issues around the U.S. in terms the labor force hasn't grown in the past 5 years. So those labor force participants haven't grown. So this is why the unemployment rate looks so good. But you also have, at this point in the cycle, productivity should be better than it is too.
I'm glad you
And
brought
it's
that
not
up because
moving.
productivity is on the decline. This is not a
Right.
good sign, especially
Exactly.
for the U.S. economy. Oh, come in on this.
Thank you so much for that. You know, Tony, I wanted to go back to a question that we were talking about a little bit earlier on in the program, talking about what you're talking about, the way the economy is tough, job growth, the concerns that you're currently having. We were asking the question whether markets, which have been hitting record high after record high in the US on Wall Street, whether they are right now outpacing the levels of growth that we're seeing.
Right. So what we're seeing in the S&P is a very sentiment-based market. So the S&P traditionally is about 70% correlated with trade. Now, global trade, which the WTO has estimated at about 4% this year, Delta is forecasting at about 1% growth this year. So we're seeing a deceleration in the rate of trade growth. So how is the S&P doing? Well, the markets generally, equity markets, commodity markets, and so on, are generally trading on sentiment right now rather than economic fundamentals.
Tony, I know you've been looking at a lot of trade statistics here, and Asian trade is likely to pick up. U.S. trade is likely to sort of stay flat. So, you know, yesterday we were talking to the head of the Exim Bank, and, you know, back in 2010, the president in the State of the Union address came out with this target. He wanted to double exports by 2015. That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, and I think U.S. trade with China and even U.S. trade with Japan, U.S. trade with China is decelerating. Okay, we'll see about, I think, a 10% drop in the rate of growth of trade between China and the U.S. this year. Okay, exports from China to the U.S. Japan, I was looking at the trade data this morning. It's actually negative. It's declining through the summer. So month on month, it's declining with the U.S., with Germany, with other major trading partners. Exports out of Japan are declining month on month, with the exception of kind of June and August in Germany, where it's marginally positive.
Boy, and if that's the case as far as the U.S. and Japan is concerned, I mean, all the more they need the TPP, but that's not going anywhere, at least not until November.
Right, and this is the problem. You know, the TPP, when I spoke to some of the foreign ministries in say, December, they were very excited about the TPP, but something happened in February, March. I can't really put my finger on it, but the motivation and the drive behind the TPP really decelerated before Obama's visit. And when he came, the sentiment was very, very sour, and it continues to be so.
Well, it doesn't sound good. So, you know, you've got some proponents saying that, look, we don't really need fast track. We can sort of cobble a deal together, get everybody to sort of sign it in pencil and lead, and then when we do get the fast track, then we do it. Is that realistic?
Well, I think a framework is better than nothing. So if you look at the WTO deal that was done last year, that's certainly what they did. They declared victory over a very sparse framework. I think with the TPP, it would be good to show some progress. But, you know, a perfect deal in a multilateral sphere is not going to happen. And that's fine. I think everyone recognizes that. But I think showing some milestones, showing some progress would be a real help around the sentiment of the TPP.